Hey guys, it's Mari. I never start videos that way. Hello friends, I'm here today with my April wrap-up. April was weird. I read exactly one thing on my April TBR list, and that was because on April 29th I was like, wow, I haven't read anything on my April TBR list. Considering that it was finals time, I'm actually really proud that I got around to reading 6 things. Some of those were short, but still I'm giving myself the pat on the back. So let's get to wrapping it up. First I read Making Nice by Matt Summel, which I gave 3.5 stars. I did a 2 pros and a con review on this, which I will link for you. I thought this book brought up really interesting points about grieving and the whole loss process, but in the end the main character was unlikable in a way that soured the entire narrative. And what I mean by unlikable here is that the main character Albie is mean, he makes bad choices, he treats people poorly, he also suffers a great deal, and it's hinted that he has emotional problems that he's probably never dealt with. But the way that the story is presented, the unlikable element of his personality just kind of weighed a little heavier than the other bits. The next thing that I read was The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. I am so ashamed that I had not actually read this ever before this point, but finally it had been on my TBR for so long that I was just like, nope, you gotta read it. It's one of those books where I can see and acknowledge why other people might not like it. There's lack of punctuation throughout. It's told in these very, very short little vignettes, and there's no real plot involved. But my brain is being like really disrespectful, and it's like, no, you're wrong. I'm mostly kidding, except for the part where I really did love this. I love the main character, Esperanza, and it was very much a case of shared experience. Not only growing up in a not so nice neighborhood with a Hispanic family aspect of it, but also I shared some of her feelings, especially about growing up with a distinctly unique and Hispanic name. Cisneros is really a great author. I love the way that she kind of weaves bits of poetry into her writing. It really was just such a quick, such a wonderful read, and something I know that I will revisit and carry with me. Next, I read Coraline by Neil Gaiman, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. In my top 5 books I wanted to start yesterday video, I asked everyone which Gaiman book I should start next, and all of you were like, I don't know any of them, they're all wonderful, but a few people actually mentioned Coraline by name, especially because I loved the Graveyard book. I did find it very charming, though I didn't quite love it as much as the Graveyard book. The Graveyard book felt like it had more plot and more commentary within the plot than Coraline had. Coraline is truly a children's book in that things happen and nothing really is explained, and it's just very much a snapshot of this time where something happens to Coraline, she does these things, she's back, and there's really no outside perspective out of really the limited scope of the plot. I really like the atmosphere that created because it was just like one day to the next something had changed, and it was really creepy, and you don't really know where anything came from. It just happened to her, and it added to that dark children's book feel that the whole story had going for it. Next, I read Fuzzy Nation by John Scalzi. This is my second Scalzi book. Ideally, I wanted to do a review on this before my wrap-up video, but I would like to do a fuller review on this, maybe a 2 pros and a con, because I have thoughts about it and feelings, but I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed Jack as a main character, which is unusual for me because he's kind of a jerk. I have really fond memories of reading this and enjoying my time while I spent it with the book. Next, we have Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Again, I wanted to do a review on this previous, but I didn't quite get the time, but I will do a full review and discussion on this book because feelings. I did this as part of a buddy read with Mike from Slice of Mike, who is absolutely wonderful. I want to thank him and, you know, just bless him for being my first buddy read. I didn't really know what was going on. It's just kind of like, okay, I read now? Buddy, it's a little bit awkward, but we got it done. We even tweeted with the hashtag Throne of Crass. You can check that out on Twitter. My shortened version of that review is that I gave this 2.5 out of 5 stars, and it did not at all live up to the hype. The writing itself was the biggest letdown for me, and the rest of it was just this confusing array of really weird cliches. Like, for instance, there's a lot of focus on beauty within the story, which is kind of typical for YA reads. but it just crops up in the weirdest way for Selena, who is an assassin. And not that she can't be into clothes, but that she thinks about it at the weirdest and randomest moments, like her own beauty, how she looks when things are supposed to be really full of tension or her life is in danger, and she's like, wait, but I'm wearing pants. And it just completely missed the mark for me. There were a ton of little things like this that just I couldn't help but laugh at. I hear that the series gets better from here. I did put a hold on the next entry at the library. I go back and forth about whether or not I want to finish. When I talk about it with other people, they're like, you didn't like it. That kind of makes me want to keep reading. But when I think about my actual experience reading it, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't tough. Like, I made it through the book pretty quickly. It's got that really simple style and forward motion that allowed me to get through it. But there's like really nothing inside of my heart that wants to find out what any of those characters are doing. So we'll see. Thanks again to Mike for being my first buddy read, and I hope we can do another thing sometime soon. That was fun, and it really encouraged me to actually finish a book. I don't know what this is, but it seemed right. And finally, the thing that I picked up right at the end of April, just so that I would get one thing crossed off my April TBR, was Anya's Ghost. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the artwork in this, and I liked the main character, but the story was told in a really face value way. I love the message that was there, but it was just a little bit too on the nose. It was enjoyable and a quick read, but not really anything to write home about. So that is it. Those are the things that I read in April. I will be back soon with my May TBR video. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys soon. I just took a texting break in the middle of recording. Loser. Even thinking back on it, I just get like warm fuzzies thinking, fuzzies.